When does a challenging game become frustrating? I'm sure most people enjoy a challenging experience to a certain degree. There's little fun to be had in a game that offers close to no real challenge. Breezing through every stage while mashing buttons feels very empty and meaningless. Then there are games that slowly ramp up the challenge over time. Each stage slowly introducing you to a new challenge that you gradually master over time, with the final test being the boss encounter at the level's end. Hopefully, this is where your mastery of the game mechanics can shine. This process should be fun, every challenge slowly making you better at the game. There is an enjoyment in mastering a skill. However, a challenge is only fun if you ultimately beat it. Failing to beat a challenge is where the frustration comes from. Your inability to move on starts to get to you. You've made it this far with little to no issue. Sure, you may have died once or twice, but that was because you got careless. Maybe you didn't understand how that encounter worked, or maybe that new skill was unfamiliar, or maybe you just didn't see that cliff. But what if none of that was true? You've attempted this fight before many times. You've been using your skills and abilities for hours. There was no cliff. Maybe you just suck. The game beat you. You're faced with your own inadequacy, and it is rage-inducing. To add insult to injury, sometimes you are punished for your failure. You permanently lose health, or items, or money, or experience, or maybe you just start back again at the beginning of the level. If you're interested in simply trying again, you're not even permitted to do that. This is an unnecessary trial. It adds very little challenge to what you're currently doing. Its main purpose is to pad out time, because the challenge here should be, can you beat this current obstacle? Instead, it forces you to grind out previous sections of the game to have the privilege to try again. What makes this extra frustrating to play this section of the game is that you must backtrack to a previous stage. This can sometimes be so bad where the act of making it to the challenge takes up more time than the challenge itself. This is when you stop having fun and it feels like a chore, when making another attempt feels like work and you're penalized for not being perfect. You want to be challenged, but you also want to have fun and to eventually win. Without the satisfaction of victory, there's just nothing else to enjoy. Not to mention some minor additions to games that I like to call anti-fun mechanics. These are elements added to games that just kill any sense of momentum or joy. A common recurring theme is to have your main energy source run out too quickly. Although I can understand putting in some kind of cap to retain some sense of balance, this becomes too much when even performing the most basic actions requires some energy resource. You just end up awkwardly waiting to get a chance to play the game again. Another is being lost. Is there any experience more frustrating than not knowing where to go next and having no clear indicator where the next story progression point is? Then you have to pause and look up a guide. This is completely immersion breaking and kills the fun that you are having. I like to throw in non-intuitive puzzles while I'm on this topic. I've never been the biggest fan of puzzles in games that don't require it, but they can serve as a nice break in the gameplay. Remember the last time you tried everything you had in your inventory on everything in the environment and nothing happened? The solution ended up being this hyper-specific set of interactions that you would never think of. Was that even fun? I suppose there are lots of mechanics that straddle the fine line between challenging and frustrating. I suppose it varies from person to person, because what may be the perfect challenge for you could be unbearably frustrating for someone else.